Am I overreacting to break up with my boyfriend of 3 years over his reaction to my upcoming sobriety anniversary? Imagine working for years on pulling yourself out of the darkest addiction of your life. Imagine fighting your way back, one day at a time, until you're finally strong enough to celebrate your sobriety anniversary. Now imagine the person who claims to love you looks at you and says, "What? You want a pat on the back?" That was the moment I realized the man I'd been with for 3 years never actually saw me. And what happened next? Well, it became the most unexpected revenge I never meant to take. If you've ever worked hard on yourself only to have someone you love tear you down, if you've ever been dismissed, belittled, or made to feel small for something you were proud of, hit that like button, subscribe, and get comfortable. Because this is the story of how one thoughtless comment cost my boyfriend everything and gave me back my life. I never thought sobriety would become the quiet backbone of my identity. There was nothing glamorous about the nights I spent shaking, sweating, bargaining with myself that tomorrow I'd do better. There was nothing heroic about crying in parking lots because I couldn't trust myself to drive past a liquor store without stopping. But when I finally got into therapy, when I found smart recovery, when I picked up that first chip, something inside me cracked open. A small part of me whispered, "Maybe you aren't broken. Maybe you're rebuilding." For years I rebuilt, slowly, discreetly, relentlessly. And through all of it, my boyfriend, let's call him Ryan, was there, or at least physically present. He met me when I was almost a year sober. Back then, he told me things like, "Wow, that must have been tough," or "I'm proud of you." But looking back, the tone was almost like he was congratulating a kid for coloring inside the lines. I didn't see it then. 3 years into our relationship, something changed. Not in me, no, in him. As I healed, grew, and became more confident, it was as if a quiet insecurity in him began waking up. It showed itself in small ways at first. Sarcastic comments, gentle teasing that didn't feel gentle, jokes about me being too sensitive, but nothing prepared me for what happened the week before my sobriety anniversary. It was a Wednesday night. I'd just gotten back from my therapy group, feeling light, almost buoyant. I'd had a great session. I'd opened up about fear, hope, the future. I'd even shared with the group that I was thinking of buying myself a small celebration cake, one of those berry chantilly cakes from the bakery. So when I got home, I texted Ryan something innocent. "I'm thinking of getting a cake this weekend for my sobriety anniversary." I expected something soft, warm, supportive. What I got instead was a slap I didn't see coming. "Why? You want a pat on the back?" I stared at the message. My stomach dropped so fast I felt nauseous. I typed back slowly. "I just thought it would be nice to celebrate." He replied instantly, "I'm not going to act like you're some hero." Hero? I never said I was a hero. I never asked him to kneel at my feet or throw me a parade. All I wanted was for my partner, the man who saw me when I was at my weakest, to appreciate that I'd climbed this mountain with my bare hands. A soft, "That's awesome, babe," or even, "I'll pick it up for you." That's it. I reread the messages until the words blurred. My chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped their hand around my lungs and squeezed. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a bad mood. This was contempt. When he came home later, he acted completely normal, as if he hadn't just kicked me in the ribs with his words. He kissed my forehead, tossed his keys on the counter, and asked what was for dinner. I stared at him, searching his face for something. Guilt, regret, softness, nothing. Just casual indifference. And in that moment, something inside me cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like a thread snapping. For the next few days, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe I'd read too much into it. Maybe I was being too sensitive. But the more I thought about what he said, the more something heavy settled in my chest. I realized I'd been shrinking myself in this relationship, dimming my joy so he wouldn't feel left behind, hiding my milestones so he wouldn't feel insecure. But sobriety was mine. Sobriety was sacred, and he spit on it. The night before my anniversary, I sat alone at the kitchen table. Ryan was in the living room, laughing loudly at some video on his phone. I looked down at my hands, steady, clean, unshaking hands. Hands that had once trembled while pouring alcohol. Hands that now held an entire life I had rebuilt. And I asked myself a question that changed everything. Why am I staying with someone who treats the hardest thing I've ever accomplished like it's a joke? I'd been sober long enough to finally see clearly, and what I saw was a man who didn't respect me. Not really, not deeply, because if he did, he would have celebrated. Even a small congrats, babe, even a smile. Instead, he chose cruelty, and that cruelty cost him everything. It was the kind of revenge you don't plan, but life delivers anyway. The next morning, I told him I needed to talk. He paused the TV, looking annoyed, like I was interrupting something. "What's up?" he said flatly. I took a deep breath, feeling that familiar tightness in my chest, and then feeling it slowly ease as the words found their way out. "I'm done," I said. He blinked. "Done with what?" "With us." He laughed, actually laughed. "Because I didn't throw you a party?" My voice didn't shake. For the first time in years, I didn't feel afraid. "No, because you showed me who you really are." That wiped the smile off his face. I continued, "I'm proud of my sobriety, and the person I want to be with should be proud of me too." He scoffed, muttering, "You're being dramatic." But something in my calmness rattled him. His voice got louder, more desperate. "You're seriously ending a 3-year relationship over a cake?" "No," I said softly. "I'm ending it because you belittled something that saved my life." He didn't know what to say. For the first time, he looked small, like he finally realized he'd pushed me too far. But it was too late. I packed a bag, walked out, and didn't look back. That night, I bought myself the berry chantilly cake. I lit a candle. I sat at my kitchen table, and for the first time in years, I celebrated not just sobriety, but freedom. A week later, he texted, then he called, then he showed up at my door, his voice shaky, his eyes red, his ego cracked wide open. I didn't think. I was stupid, okay? I'm sorry. But I wasn't the same woman he'd belittled. I was stronger, surer, sober, in every sense of the word. "I hope you learn from this," I told him gently, "but I'm not coming back." And the look on his face, that mixture of regret, disbelief, and self-loathing, was the closest thing to revenge I ever needed. Because the truth is, sometimes the best revenge isn't hurting someone back. Sometimes it's showing them they no longer have the power to hurt you at all. Ryan didn't lose money. He didn't lose reputation. He didn't lose property. He lost something far more valuable. Access to me. Access to the woman who fought her way back from addiction. The woman who rebuilt herself from the inside out. The woman he thought would always stay, no matter how little he gave. He lost the privilege of standing beside someone stronger than he ever realized. And I gained the quiet, priceless satisfaction of knowing he will never again get to celebrate my milestones. He will never again get to tear down my joy. He will never again get to take up space in my life. My sobriety anniversary became the day I freed myself in more ways than one. Sometimes the universe doesn't give you fireworks or dramatic takedowns. Sometimes it just gives you clarity. And clarity is its own kind of justice. If someone refuses to celebrate your healing, your growth, your victories, they don't deserve a place in the life you fought so hard to rebuild. If this story hit home, drop a like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. What's one accomplishment you wish someone had celebrated with you? Your story might help someone else feel less alone. And if you want more emotionally powerful stories like this, you know what to do. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.